Hi, I'm Emyle Watkins, and this is the WBFO Disabilities Beat. This year's Disability Pride Festival, which was held at the end of July, featured several disabled musicians, artists, poets, and performance groups from our area. Among them was MahataMmoho Collective, a dance group that began a grant-funded project at this year's festival, and we'll share the results of that project at next year's festival. I sat down with founder Megan Rakeepile before their performance at the festival to hear about how dance can help our community rethink care and equity. Megan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today at the Disability Pride Festival. I'd love to hear what you're up to today at the festival.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and so is my company, MahataMmoho Collective. And so today we are in the process of creating some work. We've been awarded a CARES grant and talking about care and how we can use our art form, which is dance, to create accessibility and care physically. Sometimes we hold certain traumas in our body. So what we're going to see today is how do we recognize it? How can we heal from it? Because sometimes what we can say verbally doesn't mean that we're not still discovering that physically. So that's the presentation that we're going to have, and with the CARES grant that I got, we're going to start deep diving for a whole year and incorporating people from the community, from the disabled community, from people who probably feel like, wow, I didn't know that I could have been a part of it. And then next year, we will be displaying what that means, that journey together. So yeah.
That's really wonderful to hear. And describe to me what this performance is like.
So this performance is really going to be an observation of not something that you see with just dancing and twirling. It's more of a couple of pieces that I have put together. So at first, it really is about what is it to just be your true self and not be dictate to what you're supposed to be, the expectations and the standards, and then finding the freedom, and then what is that absolute freedom? But then community and connecting and finding the connection from with one another, and what does that look like? So a lot of this is going to be exploratory. There have been certain prompts that I have given my company members to win these movements. They have to come from a place of honesty, because sometimes you don't know what to do. And so in dance, you know, you think that everything's choreographed, but sometimes we also have moments where that honesty comes in. What does it look like in your uncertainty? So we'll be seeing some of that. Also, I have my drummers here today, which I feel is very important when we're doing community work. The drums hold a very sacred place for people as a whole. Is a drum call, it calls the community in. The vibrations brings in and sets the tone of what's happening. But this is also going to be different, because not only when we're drumming, there's going to be some interesting sounds that the drummers are going to make outside of what we're used to hearing, and using the drum in a very creative way that people don't expect, because sometimes people are like, oh, okay, that's how it's supposed to be, and that's it. So, yeah.
Something that struck me as you were talking about that, especially as someone who's both neurodivergent and physically disabled, is just like being disabled, people have a lot of like expectations of you, and there's also these ideas around, especially being neurodivergent, how it's okay to act. Like we mask as neurodivergent people to appear more normative. Is this dance, it kind of sounds like this dance might also be a reflection of the community in that way. Tell me a little bit more about the thought process.
So the thought process for that is showing what it's like to discover that you realize that you have been masking, or you realize that the space that you've been in has limited you, and then stepping out of that and finding bravery of like, I can find my voice, I can find who I am, but I can love who I am. And it's okay. It's okay that I might not be able to do what the next person is doing, but sometimes we're all on that same journey of finding acceptance and inclusion. So really that's what it's about. It's like when we talk about the disabled community, right, and the disability community, sometimes we feel like, oh, well, that art form is dance. I can't do it because I'm my anxiety, like you said, neurodivergent, right? And I can't do it because maybe there's too many people. But we can create spaces like that where maybe the first thing we do is have a discussion and ask, what do you need? And so what you're going to see is these discussions about not only with ourselves, but what do we need from each other to create safe spaces. And I think that's also important, is that we need to show in the art world, because that's kind of where I stand on, right? Is that in the art world, we can say, hey, this is for you too. And that we believe that we need to open up the doors, because evidently, as we get older, our hips, our legs, we lose our eyesight, we lose our hearing. But does that mean that then all those things are gone, or do we continue to find ways to create accessibility? And so that's the whole thing, is with this piece, you're going to see, what does it look like to create accessibility?
What are some ways that your dance troupe has made things more accessible? I may have heard that sign language is part of that.
Yes. So I do have 2 company members. One, something had happened to her, and she became permanently deaf on the right side. And another company member, through just her art form, she learned how to do sign language. And she shared with me, she's like, well, I learned how to have conversation. And in working in the theater and the dance world, sometimes we assume that because we don't see the physical disability, that there isn't, and it goes in and out for her. And she has shared with me, like, okay, if we're doing a process that I'm closing my eyes, she says, it's okay to touch me, so then I know to open my eyes. So I've been very blessed to really say that I have worked with someone that's like, hey, I need something, and I was able to provide it. And I was like, wow, what if I can provide it in other ways? What if I had the opportunity to work with people that want to dance or want to, create work or collab with me, and they feel afraid because they don't feel like where would they fit in? And so this is really a kickoff to saying, hey, I want to work with you. I want you to know that we can do this together, and that whatever it is that you need, do not be afraid to ask, because it's not a hindrance. It isn't. That's how you create diversity. We think of diversity sometimes it's just because of our skin tone, but diversity means in all ways, right? Between culture, between accessibility of it being a disability or not. And it's okay to ask. And I think that I want to create a space and help the arts community continue to create spaces, because it's not like we don't have them, but I also want to help be an advocate, right? And create safe spaces for all people, and let them know that don't feel like you can't be a part of something, because you can, and it is okay to ask. You can listen to the Disabilities Beat segment on demand. View a transcript and plain language description for every episode on our website at WBFO.org. I'm Emyle Watkins. Thanks for listening.